Welcome, everyone, to Elevate with V. So excited to be here with you. This podcast was inspired by my own healing journey. I aspire to share amazing, inspiring souls to help us each elevate on our journey so we can keep aligning with our soul's calling and gifts. I can't wait to introduce my guest today, Monica. We were connected online, but had the pleasure of meeting in person at Sology Fest. It was such a delight and a treat to spend time to get to know you, Monica, at a deeper level. So, Monica helps healers, coaches, and energy workers to connect to a higher consciousness and heal within so that they can believe in themselves more deeply, take decisive action in their own lives, and facilitate more profound transformations with their own clients. She uses NLP, channeling, and quantum healing techniques to access and reprogram the motherboard of your being so that you can shed the unhelpful beliefs that hold you back, connect to the higher realms, and fulfill your personal and business potential. The story of Soul Talk and her founder, Monica Ramirez, Warrior of Love, was created to have a soul to soul conversation with life coaches, healers, channelers, mediums, contactees, and people with a mission for the good of all. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you for having me in your show. I really appreciate and your viewers. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So excited to have you here and to jump into the story. So, as you know, Monica, this podcast is all about highlighting healing journeys and how each one of us has navigated a few storms to get to some of our silver linings. So, I wanted to ask you what event or events led you into stepping into your own personal healing journey?
Oh wow. Well, it was so many that it takes us to human beings will learn from our mistakes. And everything is a testing, but that's of course that's the healer me. The one I was raised in a family of narcissists, so it was very hard to believe in myself, and I did not thought that I deserved better. So I married 4 times, and every time I choose in that time a husband, it was of course from the unheal me, and I got beat up, I got cheated, I got scammed, I got everything in from my last 3 marriages, and it was precisely because I didn't thought that I deserved better. And in the third husband that I had, when he was beating me and so forth, and it lasted 5 years, I got sick with lupus, RA, and fibromyalgia. I wanted to have the bottom of escape, basically, from this plane. And I remember in that time thinking that okay, this is my life, and I wanted to escape my life, and I did not have the guts. Actually, I was so depressed that I did not have the guts to actually put a gun in my head, and I just had a baby girl that in a way could not escape so easy because who was going to take care of her? I did not want that she think that was normal and that she continue the same patterns that I was doing. And so I got myself a lupus RA fibromyalgia, because that was socially accepted. If you die from a sickness, that you killed yourself. And that's when my journey from being sick, from many doctors, many studies, many medications that I was taking, cortisone and things like that for 10 years. It was just getting worse and worse and worse. At the end, I was ended with epilepsy that I couldn't even drive for 1 year. And I was like, okay, I need to do something with me. And because like I told you, I was already having to depend on someone to drive me because I could not even drive for 1 year. And I'm glad that actually took me to that far in my sickness, because then that's when I really begged for a change in me, because I could not continue like that. And I still have a little girl that I have to raise. So I remember in my one of my I went to sleep one night thinking how I wish I was in another plane or change dimension or something magical just happened. Oh, it did. In that I had a dream in that night that my higher self that I did not knew then, she told me, okay, are you ready to change to a new life? And I told her, yes, of course, get me out of here. Like, I'm done. It's like, I'm in pain. I don't have energy and I still have to take care of a little kid. And I'm trying to make it happen. It's like, I don't know what else to do. So get me out of here. Change me into a different dimension. Do something. And she told me, okay. She took me to a precipice and it was dark, dark in the bottom. And she told me, okay, jump. And all my fears start creeping in, and the memories like, I heard if I died when I'm asleep, I am not you died in real life. She tell me, okay, no problem, go back to your bed, go to sleep, and everything is gonna be exactly as it is. And in that moment I open my arms and jump. Of course, I was like I'm done with all this. This is not life. So I jump. When I wake up in my bed, everything was different. The door where it was supposed to be, or my memory was telling me, it was not there. The window was not there. The different paintings that I have there, some of them I have not even created yet. And I was like, okay, this is weird. I was like, maybe I'm still asleep. Like, maybe I'm going to go back to bed and maybe I will wake up. Well, I went to bed again, and I don't know how long I slept, or it can be from 15 minutes, that it can be 24 hours. I still do not know. But when I wake up to the same plane. The door again, it was like, okay, the door is still in the wrong place. The paintings, I remember I did a painting and it's like, where is it? And I started looking for that painting. It's like, it was not there. And it was like, and I asked, okay, where's this painting? It's like, what painting? Haven't done that one. Like, oh my God, I really changed to a different timeline. This is not even possible that it is happening. So I could not even say it to anyone because it's like, you're crazy. They already were calling me at my house crazy, but that was gonna take me to a different, more crazy state that I was gonna be in. So I keep it to myself, and more weird stuff was happening. People that they were like my closest friends, and like, I don't know this person. Like, this is weird. So it's like, I was like, okay, let me get to know them. Do I tell them that this is happening? Like, I could not. And then I saw a message in Facebook of someone that he was promoting a class that it was about looking for 12 magical women. And I laughed and I just sent a message. Okay, let's see what happens in this one. And I did not imagine that they were gonna call me. And when they call me, like, what is the problem? Be like, well, I think I'm crazy. This is happening, and to me, I just want to know clarification, or I should go to the mental hospital because I still raising a little kid, and it's like, and I don't want to be raised by a crazy person because at this point I felt crazy in that moment. And she started laughing and she told me, like, no, you just jump into a timeline, a different timeline. And like, I can't teach you how, because I started jumping in different, it was every day was different. When I talked to her, it was about 12 days and it was different. And it was like, okay, what is going on? I'm really crazy. And she told me, oh, you're just jumping in timelines. I can teach you how you can choose the timeline that you want to be, and you can stay there as long as you want to be. And like, oh yes, I need that class. And I took that magical class with this magical woman in New Zealand. And that was way before the pandemic. And it was the best experience I ever had because I learned about my own inner gifts. I learned to believe in myself. I learned that I deserve it, I worth it. And I learned to stay in the timeline that I want to as long as I want to stay. And but then I started observing my body. I started doing, of course, inner work in that time with myself. I start owning my own things because I was guilting everybody for all my mistakes, and everybody were the guilt of everybody. Well, I started learning that I was responsible of everything, and I started owning everything. And of course, that came with the shame, and it came with guilt, and it came with fears, and it came with all these things. It's like, oh my God, I did so wrong. Oh my God, why I choose this and why I chose that. Even the marriage that I was getting beat up is like I chose it. It's like he was in a way just my teacher. And then I started observing things like, okay, this is that's and I started observing my body that started stopped being swollen. I stopped being in pain. I start having more energy. And I haven't had a flare up since then, since almost 10 years ago.
Um,
I learned to control my thoughts and my emotions at the same time and becoming the observer. So my emotional state, I control it myself. I'm not gonna say that I'm never sad. Yes, I'm still living a human experience. Of course, we're gonna go in ups and downs. When we expand and we contract, that's part of the human experience. But I'm not gonna go into a depression to the point that I need antidepressives again. Why? Because I can control it. I can change it, I can shift it. I don't necessarily jump into a different timeline and running. And it's in this timeline because I learned that where I wanted to create a change, it had to be in this awareness, in this moment, in this present moment. If I run to another timeline or a different city, I run with myself. I was not going to change anything.
wow. That is so powerful, Monica. So this is very interesting. I don't think I've had anyone kind of share that they literally like wake up and then they're different timeline. That's so amazing. I can't even imagine. I mean, I could see why you would think that you were going crazy because it's like, and I'm very particular. I know where I put things. So if something's not where it's supposed to be, I'm like, where did this go? But you're talking about like many more things, right? It's like paintings or doors, like real big physical things. So I guess my question is, so you take this amazing class, you're doing this inner work, you're learning about your gifts, you're embracing yourself. Were you still in that third marriage at that point?
No, I divorced.
Okay.
To heal myself, of course, I divorced when I have the, okay, you know what? I got to the point in that marriage. Says, okay, you want to kill me? Go ahead. I cannot live like this. And then I divorced in that marriage. And then I started doing the inner work. And that's when I met my fourth husband. And that's another story that I have. So that it was because we have to understand as human beings, everything that we choose, it is for our benefit. It's not against us. And we choose things that we have to learn so we can grow and expand and become a better human being and become more connected to the universe or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what's beautiful is like, we're sitting on the side, Monica, where we have taken that time and all that effort to sort of really dive in and go deep into our healing journeys so we can come out and have this perspective, right? But I remember, or you'll also remember when you were in that place where it was sort of like everything is happening to you, right? It's like all this external stuff and how is this happening and why is this happening? Because I had my own kind of crash and burn story, right? And so it took me almost a full year plus before I was able to even get to a place where I could look at what had happened and my ex business partner as one of my biggest teachers,
Yeah.
right? Because there was so much to get through. Like you said, there's like guilt, there's shame, there's anger, betrayal. I mean, all the words, right? All the words that you can throw in there. We had to go through that, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the journey. And then we can get to the place where we're like, wow, now I really see the gifts. I can see the gifts now, but when you're going through it, it's not always going to be evident. And I love how just all the synchronicities of what you created with your higher self to be like, you're going to join this class in New Zealand. You're like, what? How did this happen? But it was exactly what you needed for your journey at that time. And it actually feels like it was quite accelerated in terms of like what you were able to do for yourself. And then to also get to a place where you're like, after those types of relationships where you felt confident enough to say, you know what? I think I can do this. I have to get out of this toxic relationship in order to continue my healing journey, and obviously also with your daughter, right?
Yes. And the thing is, I always tell my clients, like, I really thank for the boredom. Because when we get bored of feeling the victim or feeling the poor me, and that's what, or manipulating or controlling others or whatever it is, because when you're sick, you, in a way, you're trying to get the compassion of others. And that's why we are going to continue being sick. And I see that many times with so many clients that they were coming once a week and again and again. And it's like, you just want my attention, right? At this point. Why? Because they were getting the attention they were needing. And I learned it with myself. When I saw myself in with a rheumatologist with lupus, you go to a rheumatologist, and then I saw only old people. And I was the only young one in there. And I was like, okay, where I am. And it's like, oh, I'm getting the attention like the old people. Precisely. They feel poor me, like, oh, let me take care of you, let me walk you, let me open, not only open the door, I'm talking about, let me sit you, are you fine? You need water? Don't move, all those kind of attentions that you're getting and the compassion that you're getting from friends and people around you. I was needing that compassion because I was not having it at home. So it was easier for me to perpetuate my sickness or to kill me, because lupus, that's what it do. Or I can shift it and not depending on anyone. And if you want to really create a change in your physical body on the illness, you have to first understand why you attract that sickness to yourself, why you provoke that sickness in you. And you're trying to control, manipulate others, because then you can create the change. If you want to continue perpetuating that, you're going to continue being sick.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Monica. And I love your self-reflection, right? Because there's always two sides, right? Because there's always are you, in some sense, you're getting something out of being the victim, or being in your sickness or illness, like you said, is for attention. There's so many different reasons people do things, right? But I think the work is when you actually decide to turn that finger that you're pointing outside to yourself, because that is not easy work. And I know, because we have done it. But I think it's when you get to that place, like for you, you were literally you're like, okay, just take me out. Like, if this is what's going to be happening, like, I'm out, and then you have this one night like transforms, you know, and shifts so much in your life. And it's like, you chose. You're like, yes, I can go back to my current life, but that's not acceptable anymore. I want something different.
Something that I came to understand in that dream, I confront my biggest fear of dying. And when you confront your biggest fear, and it's something that I teach, all the fears are like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. So the fear of dying, it was a big one for me. That's why I did not put the gun, even if I was depressed. That's why I was continue trying to control, manipulate people, because I was in the fear of dying. But when my higher self is like, you have to confront this fear, and it's like, but it's your choice. She did not pressure. She did not tell me what to do. She just gave me the choice, and I took it. When I was in the other side, I did not have the fear anymore of dying, because I consciously opened my arms and jumped in my dream. I did not die, but it was that part. And something that I have to mention that helped me a lot, it was one of the books of Louis Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. And I love reading. I have tons of books all the time, and that book it came to my hands, and I was reading it, and it's like, okay, what lupus represents, because it comes all the sickness in there, and it's like, well, it's a bottom of auto destruction, basically. So every single sickness have different meaning for our emotional state, and that's why we provoke them. That is a part that is very important, because not all the sickness are the same. It can be by feeling anger towards you or towards other. It can provoke cancer and so forth. So it's something that I recommend to everybody to search. There are many books now. There are encyclopedias. I have an encyclopedia of sickness, emotional sickness, because each sickness, even a headache, it have different meaning.
Yes.
So we have to search for those things.
Yeah, I love that you brought this up, Monica. It's so important because, and I love her too, and I have that book as well. There's this sense of like all these mysterious things keep happening to us, and it's not mysterious. That's the whole point, is that if you take the time and the energy to say, okay, what's going on with me, and tune into your body, and then use some of these resources. Like you said, it could be the simplest thing. It's a headache and people will run to get like an Advil or some pill. It's like, just take a moment. Your body is giving you a signal. It's actually trying to get your attention, right? So it's just basically the pain, everything that you face. It's like, oh, I'm trying to get your attention. And the thing is, what do you do when you pay attention to it? Either you're going to be like, okay, I need some drugs, I need to go see somebody, I need to go see a doctor. Again, everybody's going to make their own choices. 100% every option is okay, but just that awareness, right, that there's so many things that happen to us, and that we can actually look into these kinds of beautiful books and resources that are out, so many of them, and investigate, see what it's about, and then try to kind of, if you don't have the tools yourself, seek someone out to get that help or attention, and then learn for yourself slowly. Because like you were saying, Monica, right, like when you see the same client coming over and over again and there's not a lot of shift going on, there's something else going on here,
The
right?
thing is, something that I notice a lot in our community, that people that goes with healers is like, okay, heal me. Like, I can't, and no one can. No one has a magic wand that is, taran, now you're rich, and taran, and now you're healed. Like, it will be amazing. Hopefully, one day we can create so fast, and we can do that, and we're getting there. But in this moment, you have to do your inner work. The healer can help you to a certain point, can point you where you have to do your inner work, but they cannot do it for yourself. They cannot do it for you. You have to do it. You have to do it as inner work. Yes, you can go to a hypnotherapist, that I am also a hypnotherapist and so forth, but I cannot stop you to continue doing the same thing. It is up to you. What choices you're gonna make. You're the one responsible. You're not gonna throw to the healer. It's because you don't heal me. The healer is not responsible of the mistakes that you have done. That's something that you have to do by yourself.
Yes.
Healer just can point the blind spots that we all have, including me. But that's all.
100%. I agree with that so much, Monica. And you know what? It's really interesting to me too, because when I look back, when I went through my healing journey, and you probably did this too, because you had that pattern, right? You attracted three of very similar men into your life that you married. So when I was going through my journey, it dawned on me that I was repeating these patterns. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. So it's that wounding whenever it happens. You could be, a child, maybe you were like a teenager, and then we just keep repeating because we don't know anything different and we're so used to it. And even though it's kind of like if you shared it with someone else, we're like, that's really strange that you do that. But we don't have the awareness, right? It's just our pattern, and we do it until we see it. And then when you see it, you're like, oh, wow. Because the moment you see it, there's
Yes.
an opportunity for you to take some responsibility, right? Now you can't be like, oh, wait, I did that. I attracted that into my life. I chose to like do X, Y, and Z. And so that's why these people came in. And that's a really big part of it, just having that awareness, because that's when you can really start the work, right? To be able to say, wow, what are some of the things that I'm repeating in my life?
When we become aware of our own thoughts and emotions, we can make the shift. But we have to, and we also can observe that everything around us, it is telling us our path or what we're doing wrong or what we're doing right. Our body is going to talk to us. We think that our hand is not, we don't have a voice and you don't have a vocal cords and things like that. Okay, it can be that if you want to think about it, but you can consciously talk to your hand and says why you're hurting, why you have this rash, why you have this swollen or whatever it is, or your hair, or whatever it is, because we can, our body communicates with us all the time. We just don't listen. The same if we go and ask, okay, what is my next step? You're gonna go outside, you're gonna see an eagle, you're gonna see ants, you're gonna see butterflies, you're gonna see whatever it is outside, that it is telling you what is the answer of the question that you ask. But the people are not, we are programmed not to listen to anything except for a teacher or the news or it's in the TV or whatever it is. But that's not the answers that we're searching for. The answers are in the nature, are all around us, and we are nature. Our body is nature, as the same as everything, and all the insects and animals and everything. It is the answers are there if we are aware.
Absolutely. And I love that. And I think a big part of the awareness too, Monica, is, the way that everything is our environment. Everything is basically taking our attention, distracting us. We choose to be distracted, but there's so much that takes our attention, right? So in doing that, there's less attention that we give to ourselves, like just being in tune, right? So I know people hear this all the time, but it's, taking a few minutes every day, just start small. If you're like right in the beginning of your journey, even if it's just 1 minute where you can just sit in silence, you don't have to sit at home, go sit outside. You don't even have to close your eyes. Just look around and just be present. Look at the trees, the birds. If you're in a place where it's not super cold, take your shoes off, just put them on the grass, go to the beach. I think it's like starting to just build these little practices where you're just getting some time by yourself. The phone's put away, it's not with you. You're just focusing on yourself, your breath, your energy, and just start small. Because I know that I had a really hard time, because every time people would say, oh, just meditate, I'm like, oh my goodness, my brain is like, I have the attention of a flea. I don't know how to do that. I can't go to a blank mind. So because I was really wanting to build the practice, it took me a while and I had to start very small, and slowly I started to build. And I found my own ways, because I like to tell people that, when you think meditation, people think a very specific thing, and it doesn't have to look that way. Find what brings you joy, whatever that is. For me, sometimes, honestly, I sit here, I have a beautiful view of the outside. I just look at clouds. I just love to look at clouds.
And part of meditation, that it is, everybody wants to say, think that meditation is like the Buddhist. And yes, you can become the rainbow body, and it has happened to some Buddhists, and I don't disagree with that. But that doesn't mean that I am a Buddhist and I'm gonna go to a temple and be on top of a mountain for 20 years. And I'm gonna live that life. I wanted to live the human experience that is very different. That's why I chose not to be in this life a Buddhist and be in a temple, in the Tibet or whatever it is. Something that we have to understand, it is that just being present, that it is a meditation. When you're washing dishes, when you're washing your teeth, be present, not your mind everywhere, instead of focusing in that moment. That is a meditation, because you're bringing yourself back and bringing yourself back until you make it a custom. because we're not used to it. We have to create new costumes, create a new identity, create a new being, and you have to bring yourself back. If you fall, it doesn't matter how many times. It really doesn't matter. What it matters is that you have the next opportunity or the next moment to try it again. We judge ourselves too much in the way that, oh, I fail. Oh, well, I can't do it. Okay, you couldn't do it, but you have right now to try it again. And every moment, it is a new moment. And something that you were saying, going back what you were saying, it is when we wake up, the majority of the human beings is like, oh my God, I have to go to work. This is going to be a horrible day. Like, oh, I look so ugly. I'm old. Oh, my white hairs. Oh my God, I got a new wrinkle, and we start telling ourselves horrible things. How do you expect that day is going to go great? It is not going to go great. So one of the things that I always do every single morning when I open my eyes, even before I get up from bed, I thank for everything that I have. I bring myself back like, oh, I can breathe. Thank you. Thank you for this new day. Today is going to be an amazing day. Today I'm going to connect with this and this or whatever I want my intention to be. I thank for my kids. I thank for life. I thank for that I can think. Thank you for I'm fine. And when I see myself in the mirror, it's like, oh, you look great today. Oh my God, yes. And I love you. You know why? At the beginning, it's going to sound cheesy
Yes.
because I fake. I'm not going to deny when I started this practice, it was like, oh my God, I sound so ridiculous. Like, thank God no one is looking at me. You know, but when it becomes later on a custom that I start customing myself of doing it every day, things tend to change. And I start accepting who I am. How we expect other people accept us when we don't accept ourselves. And that was my lesson for my fourth marriage. That we separated for 7 years because he was not accepting me. I was too crazy. So so like, okay, we divorced and everything for 7 years. And people tell me, okay, what do you expect from love? Like, I want someone to fully accept me for who I am. And when I started finally accepting me for who I was, yes, I'm crazy. Yes, I am unique. Yes, I am all this. And I love who I am. And I don't want to be someone else. I just want to be me. And I started loving me and so forth. That's when things started to change. Now we came back because he finally told me, I accept you just as you are. But he was not going to accept me ever if I was not going to accept myself. We cannot ask to someone to do something for us that we're not capable to do to ourselves. That's something that every single human being, we cannot ask for someone outside to change. I hear that all the time in our community. Oh, I want the world change and we're all living in the fifth dimension. But are you living in the fifth dimension?
Very good point, Monica. And I love what you're sharing because at the end of the day, it always comes back to us, right? Like the more we can choose to focus on ourselves and, literally, I know it sounds cliche, but just be the best versions of ourselves, right? And we keep finding things, right? Because this is the human experience. We've come to experience all these different things, and there's so many layers, right, Monica? The thing that surprises me the most is I was like, oh, I did all of this work on this thing. What do you mean it's coming back? What is this? And then you're like, oh, it's like a whole other angle. There's another angle, another facet that, to look at. And so I think what's beautiful about what we're sharing is, we've all been there where we've had to start, and some of our listeners are there. They're in the beginning of their journey. So we understand, trust me, we have been there. So we know that all of these things that we're sharing, it just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. I started my journey in March of 2020, and I will probably still be on this journey for a long time. But as I'm moving along, you, like you said, as you heal different aspects of yourself, you start to build your self-confidence and your self-worth, all of these things. You start having all these tools in your toolbox. So then when things do come up, what could have taken like a week, now I'm able to do much faster because I have the awareness, I've done some of the work, and to just remember to have patience with yourself, because this is something that does take some time, but just take little steps, like Monica was saying, like it doesn't have to be some big to do. And what I love, and this is something that you and I have in common, and I know in the bio we didn't mention this, but Monica is so incredibly talented, like beyond all this healing stuff. She creates incredible art and other things, but even your art to me is another expression of your healing and your love. And I would love to actually step into that, because I know for me, when I paint, for me, that is my meditation. That is when I get into my Zen. I get into like this flow. So I want to remind people, whatever that is for you, find what it is for you, because it's going to be different for me. It's different for Monica, and nobody else can tell you what that is. Only you know. And even if it's just 2 or 3 minutes every day that you carve for yourself, you might not be ready to stand in front of the mirror and say, I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous, I'm this. Maybe you're not there, but maybe you're at a place where you can just, even if it's just making a cup of coffee and having your quiet time and it's just yours and you're listening to your favorite song, like just start carving time out for yourself. If it's that simple, just do that. But I want to come back, unless Monica, there's something else you want to add to this, to sort of really talk about like your art and where that started.
Well, I started painting when I was 6 years old. And I started exhibiting my work when I was 13 years old. My mother was an artist too. So I let her paint. Here's your set of paints, you do it. She could paint. So I started exhibiting when I was 13. In that time, I learned many techniques, of course, through the process of my life, and of oils and acrylics and pastels and so forth. But about 15 years ago, I realized, because I'm a poet too, I realized that all my poetry that I've been doing since I was a teenager too, and my art, it was a channel, they were channel messages. I started realizing that, okay, I started going first with emotions. I didn't went from outside. I went first emotions. Okay, I'm gonna paint my sadness to let it out, because it started with poetry. Every time I was in a very deep emotional state, or in love, or sad, and a poem just came out, one or the other. So I started doing it with art, with painting. Like, I'm gonna paint my sadness so can get it out and I don't have to have it in me. Or I'm gonna paint the happiness that I'm feeling, and I'm gonna put it there so I can remind me all the time that how happy I am, or in love, or whatever emotion I was passing through in that moment. But when I started realizing that, one time I was writing a poem, and I can hear the voice that was telling me of the poem, and I was just happy reading and thinking that it was coming from me, the poem. And I just look up, and it was like, and I see a blue bean in front of me. And it's like, oh, you are the poet. Since then, I call him the poet. He comes often, and he's the poet. And he's the one that dictate me the poems and so forth. Like, oh, my poetry, I cannot say it's only mine. A lot of the poems that I write or paint are coming from him, and coming from other beings. Like lately, I sometimes it comes from memories from past lives too. I have many of my paintings come from past lives, things that I did not heal then. I'm healing it through art. And lately, Freya started showing up, and I was like, but why Freya? She's Viking, she is Celtic, I'm Mexican. Yes, I have my heritage, it is indigenous Mexican, and it's a mix, but it is at least a 55% indigenous. Mexican is like, why Freya? And she told me a while back they gave me the name Warrior of Love, my guides, and that's why I carry the name Warrior of Love. But it was okay, why Freya? And she told me, do you know the meaning of what I am? And like, oh, okay. She told me, okay, I am the goddess of war and love. Oh, that makes so much sense why you're approaching me. And we've been working and connecting through a painting that I'm doing of her. And the funny part it is that yes, I like cats. Yeah, okay, great. But magical, the cats start any cat anywhere, wherever I am, they just start coming to me. And they tell me, oh, it's a wild cat. They just come and pet me. And it was like, okay, let me pet you. Until sometimes my guide's like, Monica, that's a wild cat. Go inside, go inside. like, but and I was like, why this is happening? I wanted Sedona, and also that happens with a wildcat. And I did not realize, like, oh, the kitty. And then I was petting and my guides, go inside, go inside. And later on, it's like, at night, like, that's a wildcat. Oh, that was the one I was petting. Monica, you were petting a wildcat. Like, what is wrong with you? It was the Freya cat to cats. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes so much sense why the cats right now, any cats that just come to me. And we're apparently, I've been working with her energy for a long time. I I don't know if there's, or she, of course, she's one of my guides now, but it is, we connect to different beings if we are aware. We're always attracting different kind of energies if we are aware. We don't have to start from there. We start first from our body. And then we can connect to the multidimensionality. Don't think that you're going to start for the people that are just waking up or just starting to becoming aware that, oh, I want to connect right away with all my guides and higher self and so forth. You might, but you can become more aware and connect deeper to them when you start connecting to your body, to your own emotions, and asking the questions, how do I feel today? Why I feel these emotions? So you start seeing in what things you have to work with yourself. Many of my clients come is like, oh, remove me, my ego, please. And it's like I am not gonna do that. Why? Because the ego, it is a tool, like our hands, our head, and our legs, and so forth. Our ego is a tool. Every time that we feel trigger, the one that triggers is our ego. It is telling us in what part of us we have to work with ourselves. It is not about the other person that triggered you. It was that person actually help you to trigger you so you can work with yourself. You're judging someone, you are projecting yourself. So work with that part. We have the tools all the time. The thing is, we don't want to be aware of those tools because we have to do the inner work.
Very true. And we were saying this earlier that it is not easy work, but there is something about as we do this work, right, Monica, that you're sharing about, it's as we start to work on these layers, we really start to like really get to that inner core of ourselves. And I think that's where there's just this incredible strength and beauty and resilience. And we don't have to do the work, but there is something about when we do, there's so many amazing gifts and things that we get to tap into. I love that you're sharing about like how early you started your art and that, your mom was artistic because that was such a beautiful way for you to actually get your expressions and emotions out. Like a lot of people don't even have that. They didn't have an expression and an outlet. And I'm really curious, since you kind of touched on it, I'm kind of going backwards in your journey. What was your childhood like? Were you kind of like, in quotes, the black sheep? Did you fit into your family? What was your family dynamic?
No, definitely, I am the black sheep of my family. As I recall the rules, I grew up in a family that it is very, very Catholic. So I even studied with nuns. So you can imagine every day for all my childhood at 8 o'clock in the morning, you have 1 hour of catechism that you have to study. But I've always been curious and I always ask so many questions. And I got me in a lot of troubles when I was little. It's like I ask questions like why God exists everywhere in the trees, in the dogs, in the mountains, in the air, but not in me. And for me, I have to go to church. So those questions took me in a bunch of problems with the nuns, of course. It's like, oh my God, so you have something wrong. But those questions at the same time being the rebel in a way, always asking questions. And if answer do not satisfy me, I will go to somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else until I get the answer that I'm really searching for. And that was my childhood in a way. So I was the rebel. I was like, why I have to respect my elders when the elders are not respecting me? I started observe when I became an LP, I came to understand about the programming that we are all in, that we have so many programs that they're helpful. They can help us to open a door. As a program that you do this and you open a door, you pull it or you push it. That's a program. But some programs is like, okay, you have to respect everybody. I agree with that. But when everybody's not respecting you, at the same time, it's like, why you have to follow that same program? Why you have to, why you're not respecting, don't talk to strangers. Yes, but then you are never going to have friends. You're only going to talk to family. That's all, because that's the only people that you really know, because the other ones are new that you should not talk to them, you know. And then we have so many programs in ourselves that we have accepted of who we are, that create our personality. It creates our identity. It creates who we think we are. And when we remove all those codes of who we're supposed to be, who we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to act, and as a female, how you should dress and be and so forth, we are so programmed and controlled more the women than men. And at least in my culture, it is, and I believe yours too. It's like
Yes.
we have so many programs in how not to exist, basically, just to be the servers for the society. That's what women do, including queens. They were married to other kings and whatever, so they can increase the kingdom. But they were not free. That goes for every single female too. And right now it is the time of the awakening of the female, precisely because we're saying no more. We're starting to question ourselves. Why I have to stay with that husband until the day we died, even if he's beating me every single day. So I prefer to die. Or what? What is the, I have to stay with him or I die because I'm so miserable. Finally, we start questioning ourselves. People say, oh my God, the divorce is increasing. The divorce is increasing because the females are opening up their eyes that we don't have to stay where we're not loved or we are not feeling love anymore. So that's why the world is in a way is changing, but we are aware and we're starting to see those things. And that's why I divorced when I was 21, because it was like, okay, I am really being miserable where in the marriage I am. I don't have to stay here. Of course, I was shown. I was, of course, no one wanted to talk to me or my kids because the divorced woman, and it has to be her fault
Yeah, of
and
course.
so forth. Obviously, always they're gonna put it always in the women, their fault. It doesn't matter if the men cheated or not. It's your fault because you couldn't take it. But that's how we start changing. It's not easy. It takes guts to change. It takes, yes, you're gonna be shown and you're gonna be judged by other people, maybe as a crazy. But how much do you believe in yourself and you honor yourself the people that do not fight for what they believe, they're going to stay there, but they're going to fight for anything that is around there because they're not trusting themselves and they're not honoring themselves.
Yeah, so powerful, Monica. And, we have some parallels in terms of cultural norms when it comes to women. For those that are listening, they know that I'm from India. So we have our own set of interesting things, especially when it comes to women. And, so I completely relate to how, you were so inquisitive and curious and had questions. And we're like, wait, this doesn't even make sense. But we're just doing it because it just gets passed from generation to generation. And, so many restrictions and so many structures around who we need to be, how we need to be, how we have to act, be silent, don't talk back. I mean, so many things, right? Like we can rattle off so many things. And, I know for me, it was very challenging because I experienced the same thing. Like I would see these elders that I just automatically have to respect, but I would witness them doing things that were not okay,
Mhm.
but I could never say anything. And I remember this was kind of a big deal for me because, like close family members, there were things that they did in front of me that I was like, wow. I mean, if I was allowed to, I would have absolutely said something, So I had to almost like wait until I was an adult of a certain age to be able to even have that conversation. And of course, they were like, what? No, I didn't do that. I said, well, that was my experience as a child, and it really hurt me. And it changed my view of you and others. So just being able to even articulate that. I mean, most people will never say anything because it's like, oh, what's the point? That was like 20 years ago. But I did it for me. I did it for me so that I could express something that I wasn't able to express because it wasn't okay in my culture, because I needed to break that cycle and say, no, no more. That was not acceptable. And I'm just sharing with you my viewpoint. And so, people like you and me who come from these cultures, of course, we're not going to be accepted because we're just going in the opposite direction, like just going so far away from that. But at the same time, I love my culture. I love being from India. I can honor lots of beautiful things, but we're also to some degree the ones that are here to create that change, right? And in the process, I'm sure you can agree, like I know that some of my closest family has disassociated with me because they don't understand or see my perspective and what I'm doing, and that's okay. It is challenging in this journey sometimes because you will realize you're going to have to shed a lot of people, and not because of any other reason other than, like Monica, you were saying, we have to honor ourselves, stand in our truth, and do what feels right for us. I'm not saying to anyone that hurt anybody or do any of those things, but you have to honor yourself first. And that is a powerful, but it is also painful when you navigate through that journey. But when you're able to come out on the other side, like I did, like I know that I cried a lot because I had to grieve. I had to grieve the loss. And I'm not saying it's a permanent loss, but it is a loss that I needed to just say, okay, for now, I cannot be connected to some of these people because I realized that they were all trying to put me in a box. And I don't want to be in a box. I'm not a box. I'm a unicorn. Like I don't like to be in boxes. I like to go do my own thing. So in doing that, I had to honor myself and say it's okay. I don't have to make them wrong. I don't have to judge them, but they're just not in alignment with what I'm doing right now.
Yes, because at the end they have their own programs. They have their own things that they need to learn or not, because it is a personal choice. It was something that that both of us we learn is like we cannot change anyone. If they want to change, they will, and if they don't want to change, we have to be okay that they're not going to change, and that's a personal choice, like it was ours. Just it was like it was ours, and that is a tough one to eat.
Definitely. And I think what's really important that I learned, because we have to work through all the emotions, right, Monica? Because it's like, we're always taught like, oh, family is like your blood, like they will always be there for you. So it shattered a paradigm for me. It shattered something that I couldn't even comprehend. Like these are the people that I would think would have my back no matter what. And then it turned out that that was not the case. So, there is that human aspect of us has to go through all of that, whether you feel betrayed or you feel like, wow, how did this happen? But I had to do it. And I am grateful for that decision. And I know that in our journey, we find beautiful people like I found you and so many others. It's like that closeness is actually stronger. That bond is stronger because we get to choose and we get to find our soul family who understands their journey because we've been through it. So I understand that aspect also bonds us, right? Um, but I think that's really important to really be in a place where I had to do a lot of my journey alone, and that is how it's designed. When you start your journey, there is a lot of like inward focus on yourself, do your connections. But then as you start doing your work, you start to find others who are also in that journey doing their work, and you start to build your support system. Even if it's not your family or your closest friends, you start to find. And so for me, that's been an incredible part of this journey. And I'm super grateful for all the amazing people that I've been able to connect with that are in my life, that we get to support each other in different ways. And it's just really beautiful.
Well, our family is our karmatic family in a way. We tend to reincarnate in the same families with different roles. Your dad might be your kid, you might be the mother of your sibling, etc., etc., etc. We tend to reincarnate in the same families. So yes, it's a karmatic family because you're being mean. We've been everything at the same time. That's why I don't even understand about judgment, about race or color, or we being the bad one and we being the good one. We being the saint and we being the evil one. We being everything. And the point of human being it is to embrace everything that we have been and love all our parts and forgive us ourselves for whatever we have done in the past, in this timeline or past lives. And but we have to understand that everybody has their own path. We're not here to change our parents or our siblings. I have let go all my family, all my family. My family is my kid, my blood family. It is my kids, and that's it. And my husband right now, but it's not blood. But that's a choice. But we can create, and when we ask for soul family for our tribe, we just have to ask it to the universe. The universe is gonna give it to us, and we have to be aware that some of those soul family also can be karmatic too. So not necessarily everything is gonna be love and light, love and light. We have to do the inner work and understand that sometimes we have to let go even some friendships that they're not for the highest good. They're just there to test you and see, okay, do you believe already in yourself? Let's get you tested again. So like that, we make sure that you already believe in yourself or whatever issue that we're working on.
Yeah, that's so important, right, Monica? And I think one of the things that I learned the most is there's so many things, all this conditioning and all this programming, and as I've been moving along in my journey, one of the things that's been really important for me is to not attach to anything too tightly, because that's something that's also conditioned. Like, oh, you should have a best friend and they're going to be a best friend for like 50 years, or it's going to be this. Like, I'm just giving that example. You know what I mean, right? And the truth is that that's not how it happens. Like we are in this space where things are constantly shifting and changing, right? So the more we can kind of put ourselves in a place where we can come to our own neutral space, right? As much as possible and not judge. And because, like you said, when people come into that awareness of, you know, there are not really any accidents that happen around us. Like these are all things that we have attracted, we have said yes to into our lives, but it's all here to kind of help us see all these different aspects. And then we get to choose, right? I mean, you can choose to stay in something. Hey, it's not for me to judge. You're choosing your journey. But I think it's so important to just have that awareness that we get to choose in every moment. And like Monica was saying, every day is a new day. You get to choose today. And don't keep dragging all that stuff. Yes, to some degree, we all have baggage, but that's what we're doing. We're trying to take
Mhm.
those stones and things out of the bags to start to like release so that we can move forward without all these extra things that might have been holding us back, right? Because like you said, Monica, we talk about like, oh, all of us in our communities, oh, 5D Earth, and it's going to be this and the magic and the wonderful. Yes, 100%. We all hold that image of what we want, but we're still living here in this everyday reality. So we just need to keep pulling in those visions, but we have to ground it. And how do we ground it? By practicing ourselves every day. Because every time we do something, we do healing work, there's a ripple effect. I truly believe that. Anything that I'm doing, not only does it impact my own family or whatever, but like a ripple effect all around me.
I believe the monkey effect. I believe that everybody knows about the monkey effect. It's like one monkey learn one thing, the whole community of those monkeys are gonna learn the same thing. And in a way, if we understand that we are all connected and we are all one, right now we can say, like, how do I know how is the collective of human beings doing? I just have to check on myself. Why do I'm feeling right now? What do I'm working on myself? And then you can sit down and observe the rest of the community, and you're gonna observe like, oh, the majority are passing through the same thing that I'm passing through right now. If I'm working with this, I expect the rest of the people also are working on the same thing, the majority. Something that I can say right now, that yes, that many things right now in the 2023, the end of the 2023 and starting the 2024, we can observe that things that we thought that they happened 20 years ago or 30 years ago, that we are not even aware of those things, they're going to be showing up because we have not healed them.
Yeah.
So if we become aware, it's like, why this ex-boyfriend when I was 15 years old is showing up? Like I have not talked to him since I was 15. Like, well, because there is a part of you that have not let go that memory. Ask yourself what part of you is still thinking that that was the best choice instead of thinking I dodged a bullet.
Absolutely. I love that you shared that because that is so true. When I was saying earlier too, it's like, a different facet of something will show up, but it's always so meaningful. If you just stop and just tune in, you're like, oh, wow, this is why this has come back for me to look at, for me. And I get a choice. I can ignore it, but
Yeah.
guess what? I promise you it's going to come back at some point. So I get to choose to do it now or I can do it later, but it's really important. And so, oh my goodness, Monica, we're just having the best conversation. I think we've already been like talking for like an hour, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much wonderful stuff that has come out in this session together. And I know there's so much more that we could talk about, but um I just want to remind all my incredible listeners that please check out Monica and all the incredible work that she's doing. All her information is going to be in the bio section, and she's got some wonderful stuff that's coming up in the new year. So definitely check out her website, check out her podcast, and all the wonderful things, her beautiful art. There's so many things. I mean, you're just so multi-talented, Monica. There's so much stuff going on, and it's just been so amazing to connect with you today. And it was so beautiful to spend time with you at Sology Fest. And we're kind of coming to the tail end of our time together, but I wanted to invite you, it feels joyful for you to maybe bring in a message for the collective as we're wrapping up the session.
Well, that's something that I was mentioning early. It was about to be aware how you're feeling. Because right now, with the energies that are coming right now from the sun, that we're getting a lot of activations, many people there, you thought that they were not waking up. They're starting to waking up and starting to become aware. So remember how you felt when you wake up. It was chaos. It was too many rabbit holes. And you get lost how long? For many years? Okay, they are there in this moment. So be the hand for them. Help them in that way. You don't have to stay in a rabbit hole for the rest of your life. You can evolve because whatever you fear, you're gonna attract. So release those fears, open up and jump in a way like I did it. Because the right now in the collective, in the changes that are coming for all the planet, is gonna be a lot of fear. So do not focus on the fear, because when you focus in the fear, that's what you're gonna attract more. So try to focus on love and the change and the positive things. I'm not saying that only love and light, because that's a big lie. It is not sustainable. You will have to be with a Buddhist in the mountain for 20 years, meditating over there, because or else it's not sustainable, the love and light. So be aware of your emotions and work each one of your emotions. Embrace your shadow, embrace your light, because those two parts are part of you. So you want to know what is the collective feeling? Is you're in chaos, and you're in that anxiety, thinking already that you're already in the 5D. You're not living in the present. Bring yourself back to the present. And your ex-boyfriend, when you were 15, show up in the door. Sir, why you let him go? Because that was probably a good reason. and but observe it right now, so you're not thinking anymore, why I did not say yes when I was 15? Because or else you're gonna keep that and you're not gonna be happy, because you're gonna continue living in the past. So don't go to the future and don't go to the past, even if things show up from both parts. Be in the present, because in the present and in your body is where you can create the change and expand your conscience. So I hope this helped everybody, because that's how health helped me, and that's how I observe things.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful message, Monica, to wrap up the session. Yeah, that was really powerful. I think you just summarized that so beautifully. And I know that my audience that's tuning into this episode, there's so many amazing golden nuggets in here. And I hope that everyone receives something to help them to on their journey to elevate them and to know that you're never alone. There's a lot of support around, and beautiful people like Monica and so many others that I've invited to join me to co-create these episodes. Lots of resources to choose from, and know that where you are today is exactly where you're meant to be. You don't need to rush anything. Just be present and just love yourself a little extra. Why not, right?
Yes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Monica. Again, it's just been such a delight and pleasure to connect with you and to have this incredible conversation and get to know you a little bit. And I'm so excited for when this episode comes out to share with everybody. And I can't wait to see all of my audience on the next episode.